Google Search Console, SEO hacks for B2B marketers. From SEO dashboard to revenue console. If you're in B2B, Google Search Console, GSC, shouldn't feel like an SEO-only tool. It should feel like pipeline telemetry. When organic search drives about 53.3% of overall website traffic and search behavior influences most buying journeys, the team that reads GSC well gets an unfair advantage. The goal isn't more impressions for bragging rights, it's more qualified clicks that turn into meetings and opportunities. This matters even more because buyers start with search. Roughly 68% of online experiences begin with a search engine, and about 71% of B2B buyers start their research on Google. If you wait until someone fills out a form to learn what they care about, you're arriving late to the conversation. GSC has been documenting all along. In B2B specifically, search is often the largest trackable acquisition channel, with organic and paid search together accounting for around 76% of trackable traffic in some bright edge summaries. That's why we treat GSC as a revenue tool at SalesHive. It shows what prospects want, how they describe their problems, and where your site is underperforming in ways that directly impact booked meetings. The GSC metrics that actually predict pipeline. Most teams stop at clicks went up, but clicks alone don't create pipeline. Intent does. In GSC, impressions tell you where demand exists. Average position tells you how close you are to capturing that demand, and CTR tells you whether your result is compelling in that specific SERP. The B2B twist. You want these metrics segmented by buyer intent and tied to landing pages that influence demos, contact forms, and closed-won deals. Trust also amplifies the impact of organic visibility in B2B. Around 85% of B2B decision-makers report trusting organic results more than paid ads, which means winning the click is often winning credibility. If you're ranking but not earning clicks, you're leaving the free trust of organic on the table. Finally, remember why small improvements compound. SEO-driven leads are often reported to close around 14.6% versus about 1.7% for outbound leads in common industry roundups. That doesn't mean outbound is bad. We build a lot of pipeline through outbound. But it does mean every incremental SEO lift you identify in GSC can punch above its weight, especially when marketing and your SDR agency motion reinforce each other. Segment queries by intent and brand demand. The fastest way to make GSC actionable is to stop treating queries like a random keyword dump. Export the last 3 to 6 months of query data and bucket terms into problem-aware, solution-aware, and vendor-aware intent. In practice, the words people use software, platform, tool, pricing, verse, alternatives are often enough to place a query into a funnel stage with high accuracy. Next, separate branded from non-branded demand inside GSC using include-exclude filters for your company name, product names, and domain variations. Branded performance tells you whether your marketing and outbound programs are creating demand and capturing it, but non-branded performance tells you whether you're getting discovered by net new buyers. A common mistake is celebrating branded growth while non-branded visibility stalls, which quietly caps pipeline expansion. Once those segments are in place, you can map them to the pages that actually move deals. Educational pages for problem-aware terms, comparison and use case pages for solution-aware terms, and product, pricing, and competitor pages for vendor-aware terms. If your vendor-aware queries are landing on generic blog posts, you've found a revenue leak. Either you need a better page or you need internal linking that clarifies the best next step for buyers and for Google. Build a repeatable weekly and monthly GSC rhythm. GSC is most valuable when it's operational, not occasional. We recommend a weekly check, 20 to 30 minutes, focused on volatility, sudden click drops, indexing issues, brand versus non-brand movement, and new query themes that are gaining impressions. Waiting until month end is how teams miss quiet problems that later turn into loud revenue shortfalls. Then run a deeper monthly review that produces decisions, not dashboards. Build a high-intent opportunity view by filtering queries that include terms like software, service, tool, or pricing, and prioritize those where average position is 3 to 15 and CTR is below your baseline. These are the most reliable, low-cost wins because you already have visibility. You just need to improve relevance, snippet appeal, or page alignment. One more operational habit prevents future pain. Set up the BigQuery bulk export, or at minimum, a monthly CSV backup, so you can analyze trends beyond the UI limits and keep history intact. Teams often make the mistake of relying on screenshots and ad hoc exports, then realizing later they can't answer basic questions like, what changed 2 quarters ago when pipeline shifts? Treat your GSC exports like revenue data because they explain revenue outcomes. Google Search Console is the closest thing you'll ever get to a live transcript of what your buyers are thinking before they talk to sales. Turn high-impression queries into more clicks. CTR Sprint. Today, visibility doesn't guarantee traffic. In 2024, about 58.5% of Google searches ended with 0 clicks in widely cited analyses, largely due to richer SERP features and AI-driven answers. In GSC, this often looks like stable impressions and positions paired with slipping CTR, an early warning that your snippet isn't winning the remaining clicks. A quarterly CTR sprint is one of the highest ROI plays a B2B team can run. Pull the top 20 to 30 non-branded queries by impressions where you rank in the top 10 or top 5, but CTR is below your site's average. Then, rewrite titles and meta descriptions to match intent and outcomes. The most common mistake here is clever messaging. In B2B, clarity wins. Name the audience, state the result, and reflect the query language buyers actually use. After changes go live, annotate the update date and measure CTR movement over the next 4 to 6 weeks in GSC. If CTR doesn't improve, don't guess. Open the SERP and diagnose what you're competing against: AI overview presence, featured snippets, comparison grids, strong brand titles. Over time, these sprints turn into compounding gains because a better CTR at the same rank often means more qualified demos without creating new content. Tie Search Console to CRM, meetings, and revenue. The biggest gap we see is teams running SEO in isolation from revenue systems. Export page-level GSC data, landing pages, clicks, impressions, top queries, and join it to your CRM by first touch and assisted touch URLs. Even a manual match for your top landing pages can reveal which pages show up most often in opportunities and closed-won deals. Exactly the evidence marketing and sales leadership need to prioritize resources. This is also where channel strategy gets sharper. Some studies report B2B sites getting around 62% of traffic from organic search, and others emphasize how organic plus paid search dominates trackable acquisition. When you can prove which organic pages influence revenue, you can align paid search, LinkedIn outreach services, and content updates around the same topics instead of spreading effort thin across interesting ideas. If you're building a sales outsourcing or outsourced sales team motion, this connection is even more valuable because it unifies messaging across inbound and outbound. At SalesHive, we use these insights to make outbound feel familiar. Prospects see the same problem language in search and in their inbox, whether it's a cold email agency sequence or a B2B cold calling services script. The result is tighter relevance, better reply rates, and cleaner handoffs from marketing to SDRs. Feed outbound, using GSC to power SDR messaging. Your SDRs don't need GSC access, but they do need the language buyers use when they search. Export your top non-branded queries for core product lines, group them into pain themes, and convert those themes into subject lines, call openings, and short LinkedIn messages. This is one of the easiest ways to keep Outbound grounded in reality instead of internal jargon, and it applies whether you run an internal team or partner with a B2B sales agency. A practical approach is to build a search-to-sequence sheet that pairs query themes with proof points and CTAs. For example, if a cluster signals late-stage evaluation, pricing, alternatives, best, your Outbound should offer a comparison guide, a one-page ROI view, or a clear next step like a teardown call. If a cluster signals early pain, how to, reduce, benchmark, your cold caller should open with the symptom and a credible path to resolution rather than pitching features. The common mistake is treating Outbound and SEO as separate planets. Marketing publishes content, then SDRs pitch something else. When your cold calling agency motion mirrors what buyers are already searching, you reduce cognitive friction and increase trust, especially in categories where 85% of decision makers already favor organic credibility. This is how an outbound sales agency program becomes more than more touches. It becomes an extension of what the market is already asking for. Prepare for zero-click, AI overviews, and the next SEO playbook. AI-driven SERPs don't kill B2B SEO, but they do change the scoreboard. You'll often see impressions hold while clicks fall, and that's your signal to adapt. Tighten answers, add concise definitions, and structure content so it's eligible for the SERP features that still drive qualified traffic. The goal is to win the remaining click share on queries where buyers still need depth, vendors, and proof, not just a quick summary. The next step is to systematize what works. Run your weekly checks, your monthly high-intent report, and your quarterly CTR sprint. Then keep a running log of changes and outcomes so you can attribute performance shifts to actions. If you have RevOps support, the BigQuery bulk export is worth it. If not, a disciplined monthly export still gives you long-term trend data that most competitors never build. If you want this to translate into pipeline faster, pair your GSC insights with execution across channels. At SalesHive, we take the highest intent query themes and bake them into outreach, cold calling services, cold email, and list building services. So demand you're seeing in search becomes conversations you can measure. When search tells you buyers are out there, the next step is simple. Align your content, your conversion paths, and your outbound touchpoints until GSC improvements show up as booked meetings.